Programmers invent structures to house and control designs and programs. Managers invent structures to house and control programmers. The software industry is trapped in a structure of ignorance at every level, and it is now pulling other industries who find themselves dependent on software into the tar pit. England's Queen Mum was a figure on the world scene for over 100 years. During the Second World War, she chose to remain in London's Buckingham Palace during the German air assault rather than take refuge in the English countryside. She did so simply to be able to look the East Enders in the face. In writing about global software competitiveness and security, I feel the need to look in on the programmers on the factory floor. I do so simply to claim the right to speak, sometimes about them and sometimes for them, and to look them in the face afterwards. Walt Whitman expressed a unique view of reuse, as he wrote shortly before his death, "I bequeath myself to the dirt. If you want me again, simply look beneath your boot sole." Bob McHenry, an early programmer and software engineering pioneer, said many times, "Programmers shall inherit the earth." Some already have, others are waiting their turn. One need only to look at the growing number of newly minted software millionaires and billionaires to know that he was a visionary. In Silicon Valley at the turn of the century, there were 63 new millionaires being produced every day. But it was not always this way, and it is not this way today for hundreds of thousands and soon to be millions of programmers. These unfortunate souls share the space with Walt Whitman under the boot sole of the managers who extract endless hours of overtime and off-the-clock time. In what sense are programmers inheriting the earth? Programming is different from other occupations. This difference extends to behaviors that are exhibited every day on the factory floor. In short, programmers are perfectionists. They may have been born that way, but the demands of programming tend to keep them that way. Real programmers are in a contest with the machines they program. Some days they win, some days they lose. A programmer is winning the battle with the machine when the program works correctly and there are no known bugs. A programmer is losing the battle when there are known bugs that haven't yet been corrected. A programmer has lost the battle when his program is fielded and then fails in actual use. When this happens, it becomes an indelible mark on the programmer's permanent record, the one he keeps on himself. Technical managers must take care that programmers are not also at war with them. Managers must be pragmatic in battling time-to-market goals, budgets, quality objectives, customers, users, and other managers. In short, managers are balancing and juggling commitments. There is tension between management commitment and product perfection on every project. How it is settled among the people on the project determines the success of the project. In the stage we play on, programmers know their lines. The managers must learn their lines too. Programmers invent structures to house and control designs and programs. Managers invent structures to house and control programmers. Just as programs sometimes contain defects, managers also insert flaws in their structures. Just as managers are impacted by programmer defects, programmers can be victims of these management structures, which are often structures of ignorance. In fact, management ignorance is a leading indicator of global software competitiveness. Management ignorance afflicts the ranks of project management, enterprise senior management, and even our nation's leaders. Lewis and Clark were pioneers in the early 19th century. The Lewis and Clark expedition had a goal: to find the way west and do it correctly, so it didn't have to be done again. We know just how correctly they did this. In traveling an estimated 4,000 miles, they did so within an error of 40 miles. That is, an error of 10 miles in 1,000. 2 centuries later, we are fielding software with 1 to 10 defects per 1,000 lines of code. Those of us who served as programmers, software engineers, and software managers during the second half of the 20th century are also pioneers. However, we lacked a similar goal: to map the course of the profession correctly so it didn't have to be done again. Instead, we continue to rediscover the same problems and reinvent the same solutions over and over with each new generation of practitioners. Sometimes reinventing old techniques is even termed advanced technology. Perhaps it is in man's nature to reinvent the wheel. Even experts in wheels are doing it. Look at Firestone, which struggled to get it right with its many tire recalls. Looking back, the software industry has spawned many strong people who have pulled the industry this way then that way. Let me recount some of the directions: machine language assemblers, modular programming, high order languages, structured programming, systematic design, programming languages like Ada, object-oriented programming and design, software reuse, domain architectures, capability maturity models, commercial off-the-shelf products, software product lines, incremental development, agile programming, and open source. The software industry is trapped in a structure of ignorance at every level, and it is now pulling other industries who find themselves dependent on software into the tar pit. This march towards ignorance began with Brooks and the Mythical Man Month and continues today. For example, Brooks claimed that software products get behind schedule 1 day at a time. This is a leading example of management ignorance. The principal causes of missed schedules are bad estimation and uncontrolled change, and these didn't occur a day at a time. By shifting the onus to daily performance, Brooks was shirking management responsibility for schedule estimation and assigning blame for schedule slippage to programmers, whose selection, training, supervision, and oversight were under management control, a practice that continues today. The individual programmer is faced with acquiring a dizzying array of knowledge, skills, and behaviors without a consensus foundation of guidance within the profession on technical principles, engineering best practices, and certification of personnel, processes, methods, tools, and products. Looking back, what protected us was the lack of competition. Like the protective spots on a newborn deer, the camouflage of global monopoly has now vanished. Other mechanisms must evolve. What are these mechanisms? Clearly, we must replace global monopoly with global competitiveness, and we must do it through software. The American programmer was the muscle behind the dot-com boom of the 90s. Now the American programmer is being treated like an orphan. How did this happen? Since the beginning, programmers were not highly regarded, falling into a second-class role behind managers and systems engineers. When the dot-com revolution occurred, programmers flexed their muscles in demanding beanbag chairs and game rooms and simply overplayed their hand that they were dealt. Business teamed up with Congress to defeat this upstart generation of programmers in collaborating with the H-1B high-tech immigration visa program to introduce highly skilled immigrants into the job pool mix. With the collapse of dot-com and the business downturn, the demand for programmers fell, dropping the rate of immigration visas and yielding 94,000 unemployed programmers. As business picked up, executives made a commitment to offshore outsourcing of software skills. Outsources have plans too. India has goals to accept $50 million in offshore outsourcing by 2014, about 2 million jobs. However, India may not be able to meet the 2014 goal with the same highly skilled workforce. Trashed by enterprise executives and betrayed by politicians who represent them, American programmers may become an endangered species. Here's my contact information. I would be happy to receive questions and have discussions with people on this important subject.